8:07 with Don Wade and Roma. Chicago public school teachers have voted overwhelmingly to give the union the authority to strike if contract negotiations with the city break down this summer. Nearly 90% of the rank and file voted to authorize a strike that would exceed the required 75%. A strike would affect more than 400,000 students. The head of the Chicago schools, Mr. Brizard, said, John Claude,
it distracts our kids from what they need to focus on. It distracts my teachers.
Now, the head of the teachers union, Karen Lewis, we've spoken with before, and now she's quite successful in getting that strike authorization vote, and we welcome you. Good morning.
Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
It's good to have you again.
Thank you for having me.
You must feel good about getting way beyond the necessary 75% vote.
Well, it's not that I feel good. To be perfectly honest with you, this isn't a win. This is an indictment about the management policies and the way things are being run at Chicago Public Schools.
I have a question, and it has to do with the negotiations that are going on. From what I read in the newspaper, both sides have agreed to an independent fact finder to help settle issues such as teacher raises. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
It isn't just raises. There are lots of other issues, too.
But my question is, why is the strike threat or the strike authorization necessary if you have agreed to a fact finder to settle the issues?
Okay, because the fact finder doesn't settle the issues. That is the problem with people thinking that the fact finder and their recommendations are the end of the process. They're not. They are, first of all, a recommendation, and secondly, there's not binding arbitration. But even more importantly, there are other issues at stake that the fact finder does not have any kind of decision to make. And those are the educational issues. Those are the things that actually make the schools work. So, and they don't want to deal with that because they really don't have that expertise.
Then I don't understand one thing, and that is why the teachers didn't wait until they see what their offer is.
Yes, because they'll be offered in July, and our members will not be around in July.
Where are they going to be?
Are fed up right now because they've already had enough, and they trust what we're going to do. Nobody's crazy here, okay? So the idea of why did they wait to an offer, that always comes later. The union and the way they work with management is they make agreements along the way, and then usually the contract is ratified many months later. I mean, I've had contract ratification votes come in November, December, so that it's not about waiting till the end and do it. That's not how this works. This is not like a minor contract with a few things on it, and you read it and sign it. That's not the way this works at all.
The 30% raise
will not be available in July. We have a new, obviously ridiculously high bar to meet, and we're going to meet it when it is to our advantage. We're not going to work against ourselves. That's pretty simple.
But the 30% raise is not realistic.
Of course it is not. It is a bargaining tool. Do you start at the very beginning of where you plan to be?
But it's so high.
I want to buy a house. We start at different places. I understand that. I understand that people want to focus in on 30%. We never thought we were going to get a 30% raise. We want to focus in on how ridiculous it is to ask people to work 20% longer without being paid for that. Nobody wants to have that conversation. They want to say we're outrageous. Right. Nobody wants to have a conversation about the 4% raise that was stolen, that was agreed to by the management, by CPS, and then all of a sudden they decided they're not going to give it to us. So how do we have any kind of faith in a contract anyway?
All right. Well,
our members look at this as betrayal. So right. That's why people aren't waiting. What difference does it make? They didn't wait. They promised a 4% raise and said, "Oh no, we're not going to give it to you now."
All right. Well, let's treat each other as intelligent adults here, and I'm happy that you're admitting that 30% isn't realistic in this day and age.
30%, it was 29, but
okay. So you're saying 30% isn't really what you were expecting, but give me a realistic number where nobody would hold you to it. But give me a number where you think you could be happy.
No, sorry.
What? But
sorry, I'm not going to do that. We're going to negotiate that at the table where we're supposed to.
Okay, I don't understand. Okay. Something about this doesn't fit because we have a city that's broke. We have a state that's broke, and the headlines today say that American families saw their wealth plummet by 40%. We are back to the early 1990s level.
Absolutely.
So who are you going to get the money from? Where do you get the money?
I think if we start looking at, number one, having a more progressive tax policy in the state, there are a lot of ways we need to look.
What does that mean, a more progressive tax policy in the state?
Well, we have a flat tax in Illinois, and so we don't. It's a very regressive tax. So people who are at the bottom of the income scale actually spend a higher proportion of their income in taxes. And on the other hand, the people that are at the very top of the scale, including the majority of corporations in the state, do not pay income taxes at all. So we have to look at our tax structure. We have to look at a variety of things.
What's the rate that you would like to see?
We cannot cut our way into a good school system. We cannot cut our way. We cannot fire our way to a good school system.
So how high would you want the income tax rate to be for, say, somebody who makes $200,000 a year?
You know what? That's not my expertise at this moment. But we need to sit down and have a conversation with people that do that work. Right now, I'm focused on education.
Okay, Mayor Rahm Emanuel went to this school, Christ the King School, where they have 100% graduation rate and 100% college attendance, and they do it at less per capita than the Chicago public schools. Why?
I don't know. You'd have to ask what their skill sets are. I think we're stepping on a headline that said the graduation rates for CPS had continued to increase and go up. 100%, I don't know why. Part of the problem that we saw is that we don't push college education early enough. We have to reframe the discussion about college. But I also know that there are a variety of levers that take place to push kids in that right direction. And a lot of it is making sure that they have filled out their financial forms, making sure that their parents have filled out their part. And so it depends on the school, and it depends on the size of the school.
All right,
we see that at Urban Prep. We see that at a variety of places, and it's a wonderful story.
All right, Karen Lewis, can you hold on for 1 minute? We're talking with the president of the Chicago Teachers Union, who got over a 75%, which is required strike authorization vote from the rank and file. She got nearly 90%, which means obviously the teachers are behind Karen Lewis, and that's quite a bargaining chip as they go into negotiations. Rahm Emanuel refused to speak to this issue at all yesterday. He fled from the media, which is kind of a shame. I have a question concerning the aim of the teachers union for you, Karen Lewis, and that is you say you're dealing with educational issues. I would contend that, to be really fair, you're not dealing with education issues. You're dealing with the best possible benefits for the teachers, not necessarily the best education of the students, because that is your job as the union leader.
Yeah, I know. And here's the problem: people like to say that, and because that's the way things have been. But you have to remember something. I am only 2 years out of the classroom. I'm not a union hack. I didn't come up through the ranks of the union. That's not my experience. My experience is seeing children devastated by policies that have been detrimental to them. So I'm not going to tell you that I'm not going to look for the best contract for my members. That's my job. That is my job.
Right.
However, what you need to understand is it's not that the teachers are behind Karen Lewis. We are behind our members. They are the ones that came to us and said, we have a problem in our schools. we want you to look and see. They're the ones that started taking the mock strike votes and polls around. They knew they had 75%. We could not organize 50 people that work in an office cannot organize 25,000 people like that. That came from the membership. And I think that is what's missing in all these conversations. When people start talking about unions, they try to separate union leadership from its membership. That's not what this 98% vote tells you. And it doesn't say that they're supporting Karen Lewis. It says that Karen Lewis is supporting her membership. That is a completely different way to think about it, and that's why we're very different in our approach.
Karen, do you really think that striking is the best step to take for the students of Chicago?
No, I don't think striking is ever a good step. But if that's what has to be done to get things changed, I mean, the issue is we have laws now that are designed to allow CPS to impose issues and impose on our membership. The problem is when you impose, people don't feel so good about that. So let's try to figure out a way to work out, even though you have the authority to impose, do you have the moral authority to do that? Is that the right thing to do?
Do you think that our children would have a chance of improving their scores if they have longer days?
I don't think there's a correlation. There's no research to show a correlation of score.
Well, then we could have 4-hour days.
Improvement is not also indicative. Here's the problem with that. Improving scores is not indicative of learning. It is indicative of test taking. And test taking are skills that don't necessarily play out into what children learn and what they need to do to survive in this economy and in this new global initiative. So we have to be extraordinarily careful when we try to make correlations that sound like common sense that are not based in research.
I have a question toward your winning what you want in these negotiations, and that is the hearts and minds of the citizens, the taxpayers of the state of Illinois. To win those hearts and minds, you have to convince the average person in Illinois who works for a living that you deserve more than what you're getting, and that person. But wait. Let me make. No. Wait a minute. Let me finish my question, and that is that the average person that you're trying to convince is a person who probably works at a place where they have already cut that person's pay. They are asking that person to work longer hours than they did a year or 2 years ago. That person is working more hours for less pay and is now watching you ask for more money. And how do you win that person's sympathy?
Well, yeah, I think the way to win that person's sympathy is to say, why aren't you asking for the same thing we're asking? Why are we allowing labor to be exploited in this country by management? Why are we doing that? Why do you not have a pension? Why are you working longer and under worse conditions?
Because maybe some people work for less so that their company doesn't go bankrupt so that there is a job.
But then why then are the people who are actually making the decisions not doing that? Why are they living in all kinds of... I mean, if we want to do that, we could constantly... Why are we focusing on somebody who's a worker? Why are we focusing on the people who are not workers?
Yeah.
Who are not creating jobs? Why are we focusing there? I mean, the key is that question is so crabs in the barrel, and it's so acting also as if we're not taxpayers and we're not workers and we're not struggling to try to do things better. The key is if we all figure out a way to work together.
Yeah,
this kind of stuff
it's sort of like a commune.
No.
Right? I mean, we're all working together. We're all kind of...
Should it be a 12-month job then? Should you teach throughout the year?
Job.
Well, why are you going to be gone in July then? Why is everybody gone?
It is a 12-month job because people are at school trying to get their resources and their skill sets back up and planning and taking courses in the summer and doing other things that improve their teaching skills. There's this idea that we only work a short period of time. I mean, the studies have been done. The average teacher works a 58-hour week. but we don't get paid for that.
Can I get that deal? I could take the summer, and I could increase my skills as a talk show host, because I'd be better equipped. I'd know more about Europe if I went there and spent the summer in Europe. Then I could come back
and that wouldn't help you do better work?
Sure, it would.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Would you talk to the management here at WLS? Get me my summers that I could spend in Europe.
You need to talk to your union.
Would you negotiate that for me?
Our union would laugh.
You're great.
At us.
All right, I appreciate your time this morning. I wish we could spend more because you're great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, it's 8:24 at WLS.
89 WLS.